Good afternoon again, you guys. Uh, just looking at some of the metrics. How's everybody doing? I'm doing amazing. This is part four of our conversation. I'm speaking to an audience because I've noticed that because I'm on Facebook Live, some people are accidentally finding this and watching it. Again, I'm not doing this for anybody to see. This is the best way for me to capture what I'm trying to uh, remember for the book, which will be finished by the end of the year. Maybe by the end of, no, I'm not going to say that. By the end of the year. We're in part four. Book two, Five Tests in the Wild, Character Shaping, Character Forming. Synonym for challenge. Oh, so this is an idea to include, I assume within each chapter, five tests, five quests. That would be interesting to try to execute. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull that off, but it's a good idea. It's a really good idea. It also will translate well to other media forms, video, TV, film, and workshops and presentations. So some of the great reason. But we'll see. Book two, add Viktor Frankl, one of my favorite authors for this book, Man's Search for Meaning, and I included the YouTube reference. Tell stories about my times. Tell stories about times in my life where I've had anxiety, been depressed, felt isolated, abandoned, and afraid. I got this idea from the Dear Evan Hansen interview. I haven't seen the movie, didn't see the show, I haven't seen the movie yet. But Ben Platt was interviewed on Fresh Air, and the interview was amazing. And of course, one of the cool things about that story, that interview, is Ben was able to share with the listening audience the ways in which the characters were similar and the ways in which they were different. You guys may remember from my first book, I spent a lot of time talking about performance and the nature, what performance has always done for me, and allowing me to have this safe space. So, listening to him talk about his work with the character uh, was helpful. So, that's where that came from. Sarah Mashman, PRX, My Grandmother's Recipes, another podcast. We are Creoles from Louisiana, and source for your creation is rooted in your ancestry or in your own DNA. You can augment that with personal experiences like travels, etc. I fold that into my creation with my ancestry, always as the compass. I'm quoting somebody here, not sure who it is. I'm influenced by what I've been told and taught through my grandmothers. Preservation cooking is very important. Oh, yeah, I remember this. This is the article. I'm quoting the podcast. Preservation cooking is very important. The men would go hunting or fishing or trapping, and we women descend we descend on it. By virtue of your age or level of skill, you were put in a circle to help and to learn these traditions. What I like about that image is the utility and role assignment and maturity of the family institution, the clan, the tribe. I've experienced that somewhat on my own, and but the language that she uses to tell the story, I think, is really, really cool. She continues, I believe I was 5 years old when I got to peel with a knife. Not a peeler, but a knife. My grandma said, if you learn to cook in a humble way, you can cook anywhere and everywhere for anybody. When I make a pot liquor, I start with the bones and cold water and all of my seasonings. And then usually I remove the bones and all of the aromats. So you remove it just to make your guest more. But my grandma said, in times of trouble, you leave those bones in because it is time for you to slow down. Oh my God, that'll preach. I just need to celebrate that for a minute. It is time for you to remember, and it's time for you to be reverent. Another word that I love, another theme I love to explore. Where would reverence go? Belonging. Reverence goes in belonging. I don't know, you think, how in the world does reverence fit in belonging? Trust me, it does. And I'll expound a little bit because there's a whole nother podcast about this and several books. But Seed of the Soul is the one I'm thinking of. But reverence is this quality, this worldview, almost, this value system projected on the universe, particularly into the people and the institutions and the natural structure of the earth that allows us to live. And it changes the way we appreciate people and the way we talk to people, the way we interact with people, because we revere them as people. We see them as images created by God, who are image bearers, who are here at the same time as us to help us live healthy, wealthy, and wise. Right. So reverence is a really big topic for me, and I don't think I put that in my paradigm yet, but it belongs there, and I'm gonna put it under belonging because it's so relational. It's time for you to be reverent about the opportunities that you have around you so that you can make really good choices. And that's the benefit. In the book, of course, the book, one of the biggest themes of the book is choices. Uh, but there's a connection between reverence and choices, which no one, I've never heard before, but she makes that connection, and I think she's right. Exploring that in a book and a conversation might be really fun. That's why I take it so very seriously, she says, she continues. And it is my honor to display heritage because a lot of people understand the parts of Black culture that they enjoy, but they don't understand the roots or how we were able to cry and laugh at the same time. Preach. How we can protest and protect. How we can march and mourn. Church. We are a dual people of great ebbs and flows. She's all over my book, and I love that I get to tell that through my food. So this is introduction. This whole thing she's doing, the speech is gonna be in my book as introduction. From a brownie to gumbo, no matter what else is going on in your life, you have to stop and eat. Which reminds me, right? Maybe a couple times a day. And if you can eat from a source that you know has nothing but the pure intention of seeing you better than you started. Come on, somebody in here. Open the doors of the church. Did you hear what she said? Choice from us from a source that you know has nothing but the best, but the pure intention. See, that harkens us all the way back. We started talking about intention, but the pure intention of seeing you better than you started. Then there's nothing I can think of that I could be doing with my time that is more important than that. That's my testimony. I'm not a chef, but that's good stuff. Anytime I've cooked Mexican food, it is 100% Granny Ivy. I think that's her grandmother. And any human being lucky enough to be loved by their grand has that memory of opening the door to grandma's house. And what does it smell like? See, she messing with me now. And because my grandma was a proud Texican, I've never cooked any southwestern based anything that was not hers. And I think her name online is Honey Chow. Creole, my grandmother's recipe. When Tony Burnett Rands creates a dish, so this is the introduction that I had missed the first time I heard this podcast, but I found it again. When Tony Burnett Rands creates power can be found through protest, through joy, and through cooking. This piece was made for the 2020 KCRW radio race and took third place. Fresh Air transcript and MP3. That's what all this came from. Season 2, Episode 12. I'm not sure what story this is, but I'll figure it out in a sec. What show this is. I had a whole conversation with myself about principles. I've spent my life in search of principles, which actually, when actually life principles are supposed to be discovered as you live your life. My preconception with needing to be right. So, what I think I'm doing here, and this may be Mad Men, but something that I've seen in an episode has triggered for me this realization that I've spent my whole conversation with myself about searching out principles. I spent my life in search of principles when actually life principles are supposed to be discovered as you live your life. My preconception with needing to be right, my obsession with needing to be right. So I think part of my struggle has been most of my struggle has been self-induced. I've been struggling to come up with a frame that works for each chapter, but for this book, it may be necessary that each chapter have its own frame, and I've kind of figured that out and already incorporated this into the design and structure of the book. Each chapter should have its own set of questions unique to it, which would be different than the first book. There's a meme here that says you're only as pretty as you treat people, which I love. So now here's an excerpt from uh, first a podcast, which became a book, Power of Myth. Bill Moyers is interviewing Joseph Campbell. And now that I've downloaded the book, I'm going to include a lot more of this in my book because Hero's Journey is Joseph Campbell's idea. So, myths are stories of the search by men and women through the ages for meaning, for significance, to make life signify, to touch the eternal, to understand the mysterious, to find out who we are. That's another statement of thesis, not only for my book, but for many books. And that's why we call it the hero's journey, because they overlap. The monomyth, right? Campbell responds after Bill Moyer says that. People say that what we're all seeking is a meaning for life. I don't think that's what we're really seeking. I think we'll have resonance within that are those resonances. He says resonances, but I thought I was correcting myself. We'll have resonances within that are those of our own innermost being and reality. I love what he's doing with that right there. He says that Joseph Campbell believes that, contrary to popular belief, we're not searching for meaning. What we're searching for are experiences that will do in the physical plane, on the physical plane, in the physical realm, what we know to be our breath in the inner realm. And so that we actually feel the rapture of being alive. Now, here's another part, another one of the titles, right? The rapture of being alive. That's what it's all finally about. And that's what these clues help us find within ourselves. So, again, here's another list of several titles: Reclaim Your Own Rapture. Of course, you see where I got that from. Save Your Own Self. Practice Your Own Gratitude. Now, again, some of these are subchapters. Find Your Own Mind. Here's a link from Ben Greenfield Fitness. Com's podcast, Jamie will recapture the rapture. So apparently there is a podcast called Recapture the Rapture. Here's a meme. This meme says, God, I have no idea where you are taking me, but I trust you. Not sure. If I use that, it would be almost on my iPad. I'm trying to do that. On my after story. So this is a post from from the friend that I was just mentioning earlier, my friend in Birmingham who's doing the case study. He wrote on Facebook, one of the best themes of Doctor Who is that we are all bigger on the inside than the outside. Introduction. So here is a link with graphics. I'm not sure where that comes from. Here's another Facebook post from a friend of mine who lives here now. He says, and this will be, we'll stop after this. He says, stop dimming your light just because they have dull vision. The light of God shining through you just might give them some clarity. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Matthew 5:16. Just faith and forward. So part of this is my old paradigm, but there's also a part of it that is true in eternity. So that's why I included that. I'm gonna try to tell the before and the after. So we're gonna stop. Thank you guys.